like 7% happier. Anyway, you know what? Dan's story is an amazing story.
Thank you.
And where you've come since 10% Happier came out, where you've landed as of today, I love you're doing your own thing. You left network TV. You're a huge thing over at ABC.
Damn.
Yeah, they have a hard time putting one foot in front of another without me.
It's true.
They're like, where's our B-level news anchor?
Stop it. Will you stop?
How do we get that guy back?
Dan Harris, you've turned this brand of yours, this Dan Harris and DanHarris.com brand into this. It's more than just meditation. It's just living your life, being aware and being mindful. And I don't know, where do you want to start? Who are you? Well, tell everyone who you are and what you do.
I used to be a news anchor. I was at ABC News for 21 years. I covered stories all over the world. And then I had a panic attack on an obscure broadcast called Good Morning America in front of 5 million people. And that got me interested in meditation. I wrote a book about it called 10% Happier that you were incredibly supportive of. And then now 10 years later, I'm not at ABC News anymore. And I have this new thing where I give people what I call a gentle IV drip of wisdom and advice from ancient traditions and modern science about how to do life better.
And here we go. Sort of telling the story again, but it needs to be told again and again and again about meditation and how it is not what most people think it is. And we have huge organizations, including military. Yeah. The military is using meditation, and big corporations are using meditation with their employees because they find, for a 100% fact, it is changing people's lives for the better.
Absolutely. I mean, this is so interesting because I was like you. I thought if you were interested in meditation, you immediately had to move into a yurt or like get really into aromatherapy and wear little finger symbols. And I was not into this at all. But there's all of this science that shows that meditation is good for you. It can rewire key parts of your brain. And that really got me over the hump as a skeptic. And now you're seeing it, Major League Baseball teams. You're seeing it in backstage at major shows on Broadway and Hollywood productions, in C-suites. It's many of my colleagues at ABC News are now former colleagues meditate. In fact, that's what got them calm and sane enough to, kick me out. So I think it's really, we've seen a cultural shift, and we're unhappier than we've ever been. If you look at the data, we are more stressed, more anxious, more lonely, more depressed, and more addicted than we've ever been since they've been keeping records. And so people are looking for things to manage themselves.
Well, look at this. Let's take the elections.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about this election cycle that's rolling through right now. It has people on edge. It has neighbors fighting neighbors. Yeah. It has people looking for reasons to tear people down because they don't agree with their political philosophy, this and that. What can we do to get through this mess? It is a mess for so many of us.
Yeah, I put together a list of 8 things you can do to stay sane in the election. We're not going to go through all of them now, but I'll just pick one, and we can start with that. First of all, my advice is nonpartisan. I don't have a side in all of this. I just want to help you manage it because it is a lot. We're taking in so much information. Where a lot of us feel angry or helpless. So one thing that I find incredibly helpful is this phrase, action absorbs anxiety. If you can do something, even though you may not be able to affect the outcome, if you can do something in your little sphere locally, you can volunteer in a campaign, but you don't even have to volunteer in a campaign. You can volunteer at an animal shelter or a food kitchen, or if you don't have time for that, just be a little bit nicer to the people in your environment. That will make you less anxious. That will give you a sense of agency and power, and that is a great way to counteract the kind of hopelessness that some of us feel when we turn on the news.
Yes.
Well, it's you get some sort of peace of mind out of being of service to others.
Absolutely.
Right.
Sometimes I say, like, if you hold the door open for somebody, what is it like in that moment when you're holding the door open for somebody? If you pay attention, that feels good, and that feeling is infinitely scalable.
It feels good until they don't say thank you. And then I go, hello, say thank you.
So you and I need to step aside and have a little private therapy. Because I have so much to say about that.
You know what? Okay, but wait a second. And as funny as that seems, that is sort of a reality where we have these high expectations of total strangers, total strangers. We should let that go. Learning to let things go and being mindful of things that just aren't important is another thing we should be doing.
Or to get, a 1,000,000% to what you said, learning to let things go. That's hard for some of us. So one intermediate step you can take is Just get curious. Why, Danielle, do you focus so much on the thank you? What was, and this is not said with any intention to make you feel bad about, a little bit. I a little bit want you to feel bad about yourself. But if you investigate that, that's really interesting. Like, what's going on for me?
Yeah.
And it doesn't actually, you can let go of the I want the thank you and just focus on the how does that feel in the moment.
That's good.
Well, so
I'll work on that.
Why is the thank you so important?
I don't. This is radio, so you can't see her face. Very skeptical face.
But why is the thank you so important?
I don't know. I just feel like I want people to be nice. And if you do something nice for someone, like holding a door or something like that, if it was me, I'm always going to say thank you. Like even when you're walking down the street and you slow down to let somebody go. When it's me and somebody does that for me, I hurry to get across the street. Yeah. There's some people walk across like they own the road. And I'm like, dude, I just slowed down for you.
That's how you get run over by Danielle.
Do you know what I mean? I just think people need to be kinder.
We're living in a world where we need to look out for other people. And they aren't looking out for you if they're in the middle of your road.
You know what I mean?
I totally know what you mean. And I share those frustrations. I'm messing with you a little bit.
I know.
But I like to focus on what can we control.
Yeah.
We cannot control the universe. We can control our own minds. And so focusing on the negative is a choice, or focusing on the pleasant or the positive is also a choice. So, and I'm not saying you willfully tune out. You can take notice of people being rude.
Yeah.
But what are you going to spend your time thinking about and focusing on? So, for example, there's a lot of science around what are called micro interactions. The little interactions you have all day long with colleagues, people in the hallway, people on the street, your barista, your mailman. Those little interactions, even if some of them don't go well, if you just tune into how good it feels to have these little pleasant interactions throughout the day, there's a lot of evidence to show that can make you feel better, especially in the middle of a stressful time with this election and everything.
Nice.
I think with all of the election stuff as well, when you said action absorbs anxiety, it is so true. And there's so much that I think a lot of people are anxious about because they're waiting for the government to do it, but we can do things ourselves all the time.
Yes.
Scary and I had a huge conversation the other day.
Wait, you were relying on Scary?
No, I was
Problem
not.
number one.
That is
You
what
had
happened.
me until Scary.
No. Well, he's the perfect example. He's irate. He said, the city's disgusting. It's so messy. There's so much trash. And I said, let's go volunteer our time and start picking up trash then. You can't sit back and wait for everybody else to do it and just lament and yell about it. If we can do something about it, let's do something about it. I don't think he's on board. However,
she said I should light a candle rather than curse the darkness.
Yes.
She said that to you? Yeah. With a straight face?
Yeah.
My Lord.
And he looked at me and said, what?
You're that's spot on. Doing something, even if it's small, although I don't actually think what you're describing is small, but doing something, anything, can pull you out of the rut that many of us find ourselves in, because it does seem like the world is a more difficult place than it has been before. I actually think you can argue against that. There's some data to show that actually we're better off. Yeah. But the messages around us are telling us that we're worse off in many ways. And so anything you can do to pull yourself out of that rut, including, well, I would advise avoiding Scary in this regard. But including picking up trash is very helpful.
My mom says this all the time. She will be like out and she'll give someone a compliment like, oh, that shirt is so beautiful, or I love your shoes. And then she'll go, see, she goes, you don't know what type of day that person was having. And that little comment could have made all the difference in the world. And I'm like, you know what, Mom? You're absolutely right. It's true.
Dan Harris is here, danharris.com. I want to talk about what you have going on your website in a second. I want to know why I need to go there. But hold on, back to this list of 8 things you're talking about.
You specifically, because I have some thoughts.
Wow.
Good.
Yes.
That means we have forward momentum with this interview. I love this list. One of them I'm loving the most is we need to diversify our consumption. This is a big one.
Yeah.
This is a big one. We all need to do this, and we all know that we are bad at it.
I saw a tweet, or I guess, what do we call it, an X,
an X
now?
Whatever.
I have no idea.
I still call it a tweet.
Post?
I saw a post on X that said, if you're only following people on this website who you agree with, you're doing it wrong. Mm-hmm. And that, I think, is a great point. Yep. And I know that might sound counterintuitive to people, like, well, I should listen to people I disagree with. That's going to make me more stressed during this election. I'll just tell you how it works for me. And I don't do this all the time, but I try to relatively consistently get the opinions of people with whom I disagree. And I find it like oddly soothing, because instead of just reflexively hating the person, I actually understand they have a logic for the way they feel. Mm-hmm. And understanding is a great way to counter program against kind of omnidirectional, endless rage.
See, I get it. I totally understand that. I'm one of these actually unusual beings who can actually be friends with someone who's voting for either of these presidential candidates. I actually can have a conversation with and be best friends with both sides. But there are so many people out there that think I'm evil because I communicate with someone that they disagree with. And I don't understand that logic. And back to another point you said a second ago, how we seem to be living in this world that's more difficult to navigate through. What if this is our fault? Maybe we're becoming too sensitive to things. Maybe we're so worn down by the stresses of the world that we've changed the way we let things go, and we don't let things go as well.
You know, there's a lot of evidence for what you're describing here, that we have become increasingly intolerant to discomfort.
Exactly.
Because the world we've created for people now is where you can get food, dates, any information with a swipe, whereas before there was a lot more friction involved in an everyday life to get sustenance, to get information, to meet people. And as a result, because we have this intolerance to discomfort, smaller and smaller nuisances freak us out with increasing intensity. And so that's a real problem. And many experts think that is why we're seeing more anxiety today than we've ever seen before.
We are bringing on our own anxiety, people.
Oh, without a doubt. And I think, well, what do you think as far as social media's contribution to it? Because you get to craft a world, to your point, that is just for you.
Yeah.
So when you hear something outside of social media that is not just for you, of course you're more offended. You feel like there's an invader in your space. How do you deal with that?
I mean, I struggle as now somewhat of a senior citizen at age 53 to be like, anti-technology. Sorry, I don't mean to offend anybody who's north of 53.
Thank you.
Right.
Yeah, thanks.
Elvis is like looking at his DNR bracelet.
I was just noticing I have a DNR bracelet. I forgot I had that.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my last appearance on this show. I don't want to be anti-technology because I use social media too. I just think we want to be careful about how much we're using it. And there is some pretty compelling data that suggests that it does make you less happy to be sucked into this vortex where the algorithms reward outrage, and you are looking at other people's lives in a way that can make you feel like your life is not so interesting. And if you spend too much time in that kind of hall of mirrors, it's probably not that great for you. And so I think finding a way to balance your intake is important. And then the question you actually asked is like, how do you get differing opinions? I think you have to make the affirmative decision. You have to listen to somebody like Elvis who's modeling that and saying, yeah, I hang out with people all across the spectrum, and then try to do little experiments in your own life, because it's not easy, but you want to find somebody who is like mildly tolerable on the other side of the aisle and experiment with small doses at first.
There you go.
Great.
Yeah.
Hey, what happened to your little pinky finger nail there? What happened?
I very mindfully slammed a door on my pinky when I was at a wedding recently. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
damn.
Do weddings bring that rage out in you every single time?
No. This is the first time I ever officiated a wedding.
nice.
Yes.
I saw you posted something about this because social media sucked me in. So obviously they have, as they share something with me, they have this trust and love for you, and they wanted you to marry them.
Yeah, I was really moved. My son, who's 9, told me I was bragging about this too much. But I was really moved that my friends asked me to officiate their wedding. It was, and they have I don't want to say too much, but the husband has a very tough personal story. He's endured a lot of loss quite publicly, and so to be able to be there for him on this big day was very rewarding for me. But I also had a throbbing pinky with that Elvis has noted is black and blue.
Look at that.
Wow. I'm taking away that your son is 9, because when we first hung out with you, your son wasn't even born yet, I don't think.
That's right.
So crazy.
It really is amazing. You know, when you first have a kid, everybody tells you it goes so fast. And you think, oh, well, this is just the reflexive thing that people say.
Nope.
But it's true for children, and it's just true for life.
Yeah.
And especially as you get just a little bit older, you realize how quickly everything goes. Do you notice that too?
Oh, absolutely. No, and plus, the older you get, the faster it goes.
Yes.
It's lightning speed.
Somebody said...
I'm the oldest in the room, so I can say that.
Do you relate to this? I heard this quote where somebody who was in her 70s or 80s said, at my age, it feels like breakfast comes every 15 minutes.
Oh,
That's a very good point. It's true. This is depressing. I'm sad. I don't like you.
Back to the 10% happier.
Okay, so danharris.com.
Yes.
I want everyone to go there because there's something waiting for you there. What's waiting for me at danharris.com?
Yeah, a lot of stuff. So I do very consistent emails several times a week that are just small little tips to help you do your life better, to do your day better, like how to handle anger, how to deal with the election, how to communicate clearly with somebody who's difficult in your life. Just little tips. Also, a community. Many of us are interested in doing life better or self-improvement, personal development, but we don't know other people who are also interested in it. So I'm really game to start a group where you can talk to other people who take this stuff seriously, talk to me, talk to the many, many experts I have on my show from, the meditation world, but also from modern scientific research about how to improve in lots of ways: sleep, exercise, diet, meditation, therapy, relationships, access to nature, access to beauty. All of these levers that we know we can pull to do life better. How do you actually do it in a way that can fit into your busy life? I want to be a place where people can get that information and connect to others. I also give people the opportunity to chat with me directly and all the experts who come on my podcast. Elvis Duran is a former guest on my one-time guest on my podcast.
How you doing?
Hello, lady.
Yeah, he's pretty fancy. I remember you were wearing like a big sweater with a heart on it when you came in.
I was?
Yes, you were.
Ooh. I can't fit into that
It was
anymore.
adorable. You can't fit into it anymore?
It's just so weird what people remember from these moments.
I know.
Dan Harris, we're going to take a break. We're coming back, and we're going to play Family Feud with Dan Harris.
That's funny?
To me, it's funny. Yeah, do you have a sense of humor? Elvis Duran in the Morning Show.
October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. You can boost your password security with Norton 360. Weak passwords can be targets. That's why Password Manager is included in Norton 360. It will help keep you safe. Get comprehensive protection and up to 58% off at norton.com and use the promo code Elvis.
Win your Z100 Jingle Ball tickets before they go on sale. Now.
Z100 Jingle Ball presented by Capital One, December 13th at the Garden. Tickets go on sale for everyone at 12 noon today at Z100.com. And if you want to go for free, I got a pair of tickets for you. 800-242-0100. And when you win these tickets, you qualify to win $5,000 this week. Again, 1-800-242-0100.
If you missed our 2020